medicines,
Jovem.
vaccines, diagnostics, and essential equipment. The lesson is clear. Africa must build stronger health industries of its own.
Jovem.
This creates significant opportunities in pharmaceutical manufacturing, medical devices, diagnostics, hospital development, health insurance, digital health, biotechnology, and research.
Jovem.
These are sectors where investment can generate returns while also strengthening national resilience and improving the lives of millions.
Jovem.
The economic case for health investment is straightforward. A healthy population is more productive. Children learn better when they are healthy. Workers perform better when they are healthy. And families are more economically secure when illness does not push them into poverty. Health systems should therefore be seen as essential infrastructure for development.
Jovem.
Yet, while we ask investors to look seriously at Africa, we must also address the responsibility of African leadership.
Jovem.
We cannot invite investment and then make business unnecessarily difficult. We cannot ask capital to come while tolerating corruption, unpredictable policies, weak contract enforcement.
Yamama do fo akwa ADUMASA TV so ni said de bia ye no ye transi say ya ensem egumfo mpaji akayemu social media no so titiw ni asantesam de ogya ye ho awoku eche bia no kotokohene kra nyina se o tu kwan na wakodi dwumadi so kotitiw ni akwaside na kotide ni mu no na dwumadi ahodo esefata ekasaya ahodo ne nkofo amai ni investors ahodo kodi nkomo na wode abo Ghana ho bra na omu nyina tumi abe invest into Ghana no okodi ho dwuma enura na first lecture ne ba so African Business Summit no edikan eba so na enne so de no eba so den a enya asem ketu akora na enam se yewura na da bia no okono poto kasa animu no eba sei no a na yenso so na twase etwa na yede kiremu na ye chechiremu ensem odi tu dwan nyina ewo yenso so ye die nimu na wonso utumi ete ase yie esanse wakopim honom no wono de womote eye brofo enti de no ko honom a womo nhyada ntia ase yie enti na wo se yenso so yetumi tenase na ye gibre na ye tenase chechiremu nyina ede ekiremu enti anopai wiei ede emuhu ya na chese eye nsem wanura kotokohene kokruche ye ede efrin krata so ede ma abrofo no and investors ahodo mo wiase afo na nyina no eno hu nkonwa na yesia yede ebremo no na ansa na no yedi kan akwakotie nsem a kotokohene de tu dwan nyina na ye ba ebiyi no mako ede amamu nti yenko na yenkohwe sede adwumadi no esiko enrada ye basisia
cross out the day Kasangen.
Oh, Sadi Fogu Naguaso, cross out the Kasangen.
Kotokoni Kase, Krobiane Kasangen.
Kotokoni Kase, Krobiane Kasangen.
Mema Krobia, if young man Kotokin.
Mema Krobia, if young man Kotokin.
Asante and Church Mo Champon of Fungen.
Asante and Church Mo Champon of Fungen.
Asante Sebo Smeditian.
Asante Sebo Smeditian.
Krobia Santina Dwe Kasangen.
Krobia Santina Dwe Kasangen.
Osechi Chemi Modi Nyarisio.
Osechi Chemi Modi Nyarisio.
Wine the Benya Sajuso Supanini, Kabak Mexica Pobano.
Wine the Benya Sajuso Supanini, Kabak Mexica Pobano.
Obinya Sebianco baby.
Obinya Sebianco baby.
Man not tell if you about them lefe Kasangen.
Man not tell if you about them lefe Kasangen.
She one in tough mojen.
They one in tough mojen.
What the food that you mo champon of Fungen.
Other food that you mo champon of Fungen.
Oh, so new Crovios Meditin.
Oh, so new Crovios Meditin.
Aja Quajalin Nadia said Ungen.
Aja Quajalin Nadia said Ungen.
I could see Beacum blood mo champon. no fungen.
Ekusi bi okumbro chmo champo no fungen.
Eja ko fi seye flampo no demle ferisi.
Eja ko free say frampo debre ferisi.
O say tutu mi modi nwerisi o.
Se tutu mi modi wi avisi o.
Wan ne benya sekantin che bo chida nkwan se wan pim sika poba no.
Wan ne benya sekantin chire bu acheda nkwa ne se wan pem sika poba no.
Binya se bia nko obeyebi.
Obi nya se bia nko baby.
Bia ko bakana ne flampo no demle ferisi.
Blagwa bakana ne frampo debre ferisi.
Me mo jabe ndo da ko ya dungen.
Me ma jabe do da kwa ya dungen.
Ya do na dia ko bo jitu ta totmo champo no fungen.
Ye dom na ne dia ko bo jijo ta tochmo champo no fungen.
Wo to sika sama na jeja kungen.
O to sika sama na jija kungen.
Eja ko ebo abankro jun frɛ wo.
Eja ko eba ba nkrojo mfa o.
Wo saji fogu nyagu asingen.
O saji fogu nyagu asinge.
Wo ku be dia topleba de me fogu nyagu asi adum ya chemera.
Jom.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I wonder whether you can endure another 25 minutes of my speech.
Jom.
And I've also been charged with to just address you on the raw vision for African economic renaissance, which I want to treat as a subject. After having listened to all the investment talk and everything, the question is, why is Africa not still developed?
Jom.
So that's the question I'm being asked as a king, the vision for African economic relations in the future. Looking at the video of Lagos, and when I was there in 2006, and looking at the transformation now, it makes me feel that it's possible for us to be able to do it.
Jom.
I consider it a privilege to address you at this important gathering in Washington, D.C. And I bring you greetings from Ghana, and then from a continent that stands today at one of the most important turning points in its modern history. We meet at a time when new technologies, changing supply chains, shifting centers of production, new energy systems, and the rapid emergence of young consumer markets are reshaping the global economy. At such a moment, every serious investor is asking where the next generation of growth will come from. Every government is asking where future industries will be located. Every financial institution is asking where Africa must no longer be regarded merely as a continent of future potential. Africa is already becoming a central part of the future global economy. And those who understand this early will position themselves advantageously. For too long, Africa has been described mainly in terms of its deficits. We have heard of the roads not built, the electricity not generated, the jobs not created, the capital not available, and the institutions not strong enough. These concerns are real, and responsible leadership must address them. Yet, it is equally necessary to ask what Africa possesses. Africa possesses a young population, immense natural resources, expanding cities, growing markets, fertile lands, strategic minerals, entrepreneurial talent, cultural influence, technological creativity, and a determination among its people to claim a different economic future. The great error would be to continue looking at Africa only through yesterday's problems while ignoring tomorrow's opportunities. History often rewards those who can recognize transformation before it becomes obvious to everyone else. Those who understand the rise of Asia decades ago positioned themselves early. Those who saw the digital revolution before it became universal created industries that now shape the world. Africa must now be studied with the same seriousness, not as an object of charity or sympathy, but as a continent in which significant economic value will be created over the coming decades. The African economic renaissance I speak of must, however, be different from the economic structures inherited from the past. It cannot be based simply on extracting raw materials and sending them abroad. Africa has contributed enormously to global prosperity through its resources. Yet, the continent has too often received only a fraction of the value generated from what it produces. This must change. We have cocoa, yet much of the wealth in chocolate is created elsewhere. We have gold and other valuable minerals, yet refining, processing, and advanced manufacturing often take place beyond our shores. We have bauxite, manganese, lithium, cobalt, and other minerals that are increasingly important to modern technology. Yet, our participation in the value chain is often concentrated at the earliest and least profitable stages. We have agricultural land, yet we import food that could be produced locally. We process natural wealth, yet too many communities near that wealth remain. Our ambition must not simply be to export more to the investors gathered here. I say that Africa needs your capital, technology, expertise, and access to enduring productive capacity. When you invest in mining, help us develop our refinery and processing capabilities. When you invest in agriculture, help us to build storage, packaging, and food processing industries. When you invest in energy, help us strengthen local engineering and technical skills. When you establish technology companies, train African programmers and develop African managers. When you invest in health, help us build pharmaceutical manufacturing, diagnostics, and research capacity. Investment should leave footprints that go beyond financial statements. It should build people, strengthen institutions, transfer knowledge, and create industries that remain long after the original investment has matured. The best investment is one in which the investor prospers and the host society becomes more capable. Africa must also overcome one of its greatest historic cost and restrict commerce. Yet the future of African prosperity depends on our ability to see the continent as an interconnected economic space. Yesterday, when we were having discussions with Nana Uchosribo and Nana Pinton about why Africa cannot have a position at the Security Council, it's just because Africa has not been able to position themselves to unite to nominate one or two companies to do that. And this is one of our predicaments. The African Continental Free Trade Area presents one of the most significant opportunities available to us. Its promise is not simply to increase trade between African countries, but to change how investors calculate the scale of African opportunities. An investment in Ghana should increasingly be understood not simply as one serving Ghana's population, but as one positioned within a wider West African and continental market. The same principle should apply in Kenya, Rwanda, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, Morocco, South Africa, and across the continent. An integrated Africa will offer businesses scale. It will enable manufacturers to serve larger markets, encourage cross-border supply chains, improve industrial specialization, and make infrastructure investments more commercially viable. It will also encourage African companies themselves to become continental enterprises rather than remaining permanently confined within their national borders in Nigeria or Ghana. Ghana is honored to host the Secretariat of African Continental Free Trade in Accra, and I believe this carries a special responsibility. Ghana must not merely host the institution, we must embody the spirit of integration by creating an investment environment that welcomes enterprise, encourages production, and strengthens trade with the rest of Africa. The continent's greatest resource, however, is not found beneath the soil, it is found in its people. Africa's young population represents both our greatest opportunity and our greatest responsibility. Millions of young Africans are entering adulthood with ambitions, education, digital awareness, and expectations far higher than those of previous generations.
Jom.
They want to work, to innovate, to establish businesses, to participate in global industries, and to build meaningful lives within their own countries.
Jom.
If we fail to create opportunities for them, we will create frustration. If we succeed, we would unleash one of the world's greatest productive forces. The difference between these two outcomes will depend largely on investment, education, governance, and the ability of our economies to create jobs at scale.
Jom.
A young person with knowledge but no opportunity eventually becomes discouraged. Employ anyone.
Jom.
A trained scientist without a laboratory may take their knowledge elsewhere. A farmer without access to technology remains trapped in low productivity.
Jom.
An engineer without industry may become unemployed or under appointment. The mind should help create technical expertise. The technology companies should help create African innovators. The agricultural enterprise should help transform the farmer into a modern business person. The university should be connected to industry, and research should be connected to development.
Jom.
Education itself must therefore become central to our investment agenda. Africa cannot achieve an economic renaissance with educational systems disconnected from the needs of modern economies.
Jom.
We must expand technical and vocational education, strengthen science and engineering, invest in universities, improve research, and encourage collaboration between education and industry.
Jom.
A continent that wishes to manufacture must train engineers. A continent that wishes to develop biotechnology must train scientists. A continent that wishes to enter the digital economy must train programs and data specialists. A continent that wishes to improve agriculture must train agricultural scientists and modern farmers. A continent that wishes to manage its own wealth must train economists, managers, accountants, and financial experts at the highest quality. Agriculture remains another major pillar of Africa's transformation. There's something fundamentally unacceptable about a continent with enormous agricultural potential importing substantial quantities of food while millions of its citizens face food insecurity.
Jom.
This contradiction must be overcome.
Jom.
The future of African agriculture is not subsistence farming. It is productivity, technology, processing, finance, and access to markets.
Jom.
We need irrigation systems that reduce dependence on rainfall, mechanization that improves efficiency, storage systems that reduce post-harvest losses, improve seeds, agricultural research, crop insurance, cold chain infrastructure, and modern logistics.
Jom.
We must also change how young Africans perceive agriculture. Farming must not be associated only with poverty and hardship. It must be possible for a young graduate to enter agriculture because it is profitable, technologically advanced, and capable of building wealth. When agriculture becomes a serious business, it will attract talent, capital, and innovation power. And Africa cannot be the exception. Factories, hospitals, schools, digital systems, and modern agriculture increasingly require electricity.
Jom.
Africa's energy needs, therefore, represent both a challenge and a major investment opportunity, and our continent has significant solar, hydro, wind gas, and other energy resources. What is needed is capital, technology, infrastructure, and effective policy to convert these resources into reliable power for households and industry.
Jom.
When power reaches a community, businesses can operate more efficiently, cleaners can use modern equipment, farmers can store produce, small manufacturers can expand production, and digital connectivity becomes possible.
Jom.
Energy is therefore not simply a sector of the economy, it is an enabler of every other sector.
Jom.
The digital economy represents another opportunity Africa must seize. The continent has already demonstrated its ability to innovate in areas such as mobile finance, digital payments, and technology-driven services.
Jovem.
But we should not stop there. African companies and entrepreneurs must participate in artificial intelligence, cybersecurity technology, agricultural technology, and software development.
Jovem.
The digital revolution is particularly important because it allows Africa to overcome some traditional barriers to development.
Jovem.
A young entrepreneur does not always need a large industrial complex to reach international markets.
Jovem.
With connectivity, we should therefore pay close attention to Africa's technology ecosystems. Many of the companies that will shape Africa's future may still be small today.
Jovem.
Some may be operating from modest offices. Some may not yet be known outside their cities. Yet history teaches us that large companies often begin as small ideas that found support at the right moment.
Jovem.
Health must also become part of the continental investment conversation. Africa's experience during the COVID-19 pandemic demonstrated the dangers of excessive dependence on external sources for medicines,
Jovem.
vaccines, diagnostics, and essential equipment. The lesson is clear. Africa must build stronger health industries of its own.
Jovem.
This creates significant opportunities in pharmaceutical manufacturing, medical devices, diagnostics, hospital development, health insurance, digital health, biotechnology, and research.
Jovem.
These are sectors where investment can generate returns while also strengthening national resilience and improving the lives of millions.
Jovem.
The economic case for health investment is straightforward. A healthy population is more productive. Children learn better when they are healthy. Workers perform better when they are healthy. And families are more economically secure when illness does not push them into poverty. Health systems should therefore be seen as essential infrastructure for development.
Jovem.
Yet while we ask investors to look seriously at Africa, we must also address the responsibility of African leadership.
Jovem.
We cannot invite investment and then make business unnecessarily difficult. We cannot ask capital to come while tolerating corruption, unpredictable policies, weak contract enforcement, and excessive bureaucracy.
Jovem.
Investors require certainty. They must know that lawful contracts will be respected, regulations will be clear, disputes can be resolved fairly, and governments will honor legitimate obligations.
Jovem.
They must know that a successful business will not suddenly be punished simply because of political change.
Jovem.
They must know that
Jovem.
they must know that competence matters more than connections. African governments must therefore understand that good governance is in itself an economic asset.
Jovem.
Stability is an investment incentive. The rule of law is an incentive for investment. Predictability is an investment incentive. Efficient public institutions are investment incentives. Transparent taxation is an investment incentive.
Jovem.
These are as important as natural resources. Corruption, by contrast, is not merely a moral problem, it's an economic obstacle. It raises costs, discourages investments, weakens public institutions, rewards inefficiency, and ultimately transfer the burden to the ordinary citizen.
Jovem.
Africa cannot build world-class economies while tolerating practices that make serious enterprise unnecessarily difficult.
Jovem. Jovem.
At the same time, investors must also recognize their responsibilities. Africa does not seek another era in which wealth leaves the continent while host communities remain poor.
Jovem.
Responsible investment must respect the environment, workers, local communities, national laws, and cultural values. The best companies would understand that local development is not an obstacle to profitability.
Jovem.
It is part of long-term business stability. Companies that train local workers, support local suppliers, communicate with communities, and respect national laws create stronger foundations for their own success.
Jovem.
For this reason, Traditional leadership plays an important role in Africa's development. I speak as the occupant of an institution that has existed for centuries, and I believe traditional authority remains relevant precisely because development occurs within the communities they live. Investors may see land on a map, communities see inheritance, livelihood, history, and identity. Government may see an industrial project. Local people may see opportunities, anxieties, and questions about their future. Traditional institutions can help create understanding between these different perspectives. In Asante, our institutions have survived because they have adapted without losing their foundations. Tradition and modern developments are not opposites. People can preserve its identity and still welcome technology, modern infrastructure, and international investment. Economic progress does not require cultural amnesia. Indeed, Africa's ability to modernize without losing itself may become one of its greatest strengths. People who know who they are can engage the world with confidence. Cultural confidence should therefore not be confused with resistance to change. Permit me in this regard to speak about Ghana and particularly Kumasi. Ghana has long been regarded as one of Africa's stable democracies and an important gateway to West African technology and education and health. And in fact, Nigeria has followed suit because they are brothers. So as we pursue democracy, they follow us, and then we do that. Within Ghana, Kumasi has a special place. It has long been a center of commerce, enterprise, and mining and commercial areas, and supported by universities and educational institutions that provide human capital. But by saying that, I also talk about my region, Western region also, because that's where I was tutored and brought. And so the language of Africa's future must increasingly become the language of asking only what the world can give Africa. We must ask what Africa and the world can create together. This change in outlook is essential. Africa does not seek partnership simply because it has needs. Africa seeks partnership because it has value. It has markets, resources, people, creativity, geography, and opportunity. The relationship must therefore be founded on mutual interest and mutual respect. We must also remember that economic growth is meaningful only when it improves human lives. A country may record impressive growth statistics and still fail its people if that growth does not create jobs, improve education, expand healthcare, and reduce insecurity. The true measure of an economic renaissance is therefore not only the number of factories we build or the volume of trade we record. It is whether young people can find work, farmers can earn decent incomes, families can obtain health care, children can receive quality education, and citizens can live with dignity. Prosperity that does not reach ordinary people eventually becomes unstable. Development must therefore be broad enough to create hope, not merely wealth. The Africa I envision is one in which natural resources are transformed into industries, agricultural products are converted into global brands, young people are creators rather than merely job seekers, and African companies compete confidently in international markets. I envision a continent where modern trains and roads connect cities and markets, where electricity is reliable, where universities produce world-class research, where African pharmaceuticals supply African hospitals, and where technology companies born in Africa serve customers throughout the world. I envision an Africa in which investors see opportunity rather than fear, and in which Africans themselves approach their future with confidence rather than resignation. To the international business community, my appeal is therefore simple. Look at Africa again and look carefully. Do not rely only on inherited perceptions. Study the individual markets. Study the reforms. Study the entrepreneurs. Study the young populations. Study the emerging industries. And study the opportunities created by integration.
Jovem.
Those who arrive only when every uncertainty has disappeared may discover that the greatest opportunities have already been taken by those who understood earlier.
Jovem.
To African leaders, I say we must create the conditions that justify investor confidence. To African businesses, I say that we must think beyond national borders.
Jovem.
To the diaspora, I say that Africa needs your capital and expertise. To international investors, I say that Africa is ready for serious partnership.
Jovem.
Among the Asante, leadership is understood as stewardship. The king does not own the kingdom in the ordinary sense.
Jovem.
He holds it in trust for those alive today and for generations yet unborn.
Jovem.
This understanding carries an important lesson for everyone who holds power,
Jovem.
wealth, or responsibility. But political leaders are trustees of nations. Business leaders are trustees of institutions.
Jovem.
Investors are trustees of capital.
Jovem.
Traditional leaders are trustees of culture and community.
Jovem.
Each generation inherits opportunities created by those before it and carries a duty to improve them for those who will follow.
Jovem.
100 years from today, another generation would examine the choices we make now. They will ask whether we use Africa's resources wisely, whether we educated our young people, whether we built institutions, whether we created industries, and whether we converted potential into prosperity.
Jovem.
Prosperity, sorry.
Jovem.
They may ask whether global investors saw Africa merely as a source of commodities, or whether they helped build enduring businesses and institutions.
Jovem.
They may ask whether African governments dared to reform systems that discourage enterprise.
Jovem.
They may ask whether we understood the importance of integration, technology, and human culture. It is within our power to ensure that history gives a favorable answer.
Jovem.
The African economic renaissance will not happen because we speak about it. It will happen because governments reform, investors commit capital, entrepreneurs innovate, communities participate, young people acquire skills, and institutions earn trust.
Jovem.
Africa does not ask the world to carry it. Africa asks the world to partner with it.
Jovem.
That partnership must be confident, fair, practical, and ambitious. It must move beyond extraction towards production, beyond transactions towards relationship, and beyond short-term gain towards the long-term value.
Jovem.
To every serious investor listening to me today, I extend an invitation to enter Africa with imagination and patience.
Jovem.
Come to build companies that will still matter decades from now. Come to form partnerships with African entrepreneurs. Come to develop industries, technologies, and skills that strengthen both your business and the communities in which you operate.
Jovem.
The opportunities are significant. The work is enormous, and the rewards can be transformative.
Jovem.
If we act wisely, this generation can help create an Africa that is more productive, more prosperous, more confident, and more respected within the global economy.
Jovem.
That is the Africa I believe is possible. It is an Africa that honors its history while building its future, welcomes investment while protecting its dignity, and engages the world not from weakness but from confidence. Wishes and promises, may it produce partnerships, investments, factories, technologies, jobs, businesses, and institutions that future generations can point to as evidence that we understood the opportunity before us.
Jovem.
May God bless Africa, may God bless the United States of America, and may He bless all those who seek to build respect, shared prosperity, and peace. I thank you all.
Jovem. Jovem.
enti abusua na ensem no nyina na yekoya yekote ye no yeda mo ase se edon ni bring nyina moka ye ho na yeru akotoko hene otu na mo bia etumi eka ho ta akire ema bibia etumi